So let's take a look here now. You've seen these icons over here on the left. This particular map, and we'll look at these panels here too. There's A, B, C, and it looks like R, yeah. So R is for regions. We don't need to worry about that too much. It can be useful, but in certain circumstances, but most of the time you won't need to be using it. It depends on your game though. So mainly the A, B, and C are 3 different sets of tiles, and they all have different things on them. This is the default one. It's the world map. So when you create a new map, they all start with this particular tile set as their default, but we're going to actually change that because we don't necessarily need a world map. You can, of course, make one if you'd like for your game and everything, but I personally have always just preferred like being able to walk around in the actual area. So what we'll do over here is we'll click our map 001. So let's highlight it, and then if we right click on it, brings up a menu here, and there's a whole bunch of options: copy, delete, find, generate dungeon. We don't have to worry about those for now. But we want to actually go to edit, this first option, and then here, see on the side it says space. It's telling you that you can use the space button or space bar button as a shortcut for that. So if you wanted to, get in the habit of using your keyboard shortcuts and things, that's what all these are here. Control C, Control F, all that. So we actually want to go to edit. And now from in here, we can see this is the map properties screen. So what we can do in here is quite a bit of things we can do in here actually. But all we're interested in right now is this box that says tile set. And you can see it's using 0001, and that's the overworld tile set. But we want to change this by clicking on it. We want to change it to the outside tile set. And by doing that, clicking OK, now we can see all these change. So now instead of the world map, we've changed to a tile set that is better used for areas outside where the player is actually going to walk around, because you can make all kinds of different things that fit that better. So just to show you how this works, I'm going to click on the pencil here, and a little bit let's start with the cliff, I guess. So you can click on any of these. Now here it's probably the easier cliff to visualize with. There's actually this one on the bottom. But you can also use these here. These are auto tile ones that will generate themselves a little bit better. Sometimes it's nice to just do it manually though. So you can click here, and then since we're on the map editing view, then we can actually click on whatever part that we want to place, and then all we have to do is just click on here and it will place that part. So you can just click and drag, hold down the mouse button and drag, and it'll select multiple things. So if you wanted to just replicate that exact thing, you can do it like that, and then click, and that's a fast way to put multiple things on there where it makes sense. So really all you need to do for that is just click and point wherever exactly you want to add stuff to, and it will put it on a grid here, a grid basis. So say you make a mistake, like oops, I didn't want those there, and that's what we can use this button up here for, the undo button. Click it and then click back. There's a limited number of steps back, but it's pretty generous. I don't remember exactly what the cap is off the top of my head, but just don't try to push it too far, because eventually you won't be able to undo, and then you'd have to actually go back and do it manually. So say you couldn't undo that manually. Say you've already reached your limit. It's like, oh, what do I do now? Well, then you would just pick the grass tile again, and you'd actually want to pick this one up here, because this is which one it starts with. But and then you just override it manually like that. So there's multiple ways. But for now, and I just wanted to show you too, like the differences of these other tools. So here's the rectangle one. So let me just do this dirt patch here. So see, you can draw it one at a time, but if you use the rectangle one, say you wanted a whole big patch here, you can just drag it while holding the mouse button down, the left mouse button, and then you can see it makes it in a whole rectangular pattern here, and you can move it as you need to. So it's just a little bit faster way if you know for sure, like, hey, I need a square or a rectangular plot of dirt, and I'm just going to put it in there. But obviously, if you need more, finesse in how you're making it look, like in this example here on the left, then you're going to want to use the pencil one instead, most likely. But it's useful for rectangular shapes, so I'm just going to undo all those. And then the ellipse one is the same sort of thing as the rectangular one, where it kind of makes it in an ellipse sort of shape, and it tries to adapt it to the size you're making it and everything. Elliptical shapes here, circular, so it's a little weird to get used to, but you can see like it might be useful for certain things, maybe like a pond or something, or I don't know, you can find creative ways to use it, I'm sure. And we'll undo that. And then the bucket fill, or what is it called? Flood fill? Yeah. So it fills the enclosed area. So if I just click here, then you see it changed everywhere around, but it didn't change this area here. And that's because there was different tiles that were set here, and they were in an area that, was not open in a way. So like if, for example, I'll just undo that. So let's just say, and this might not be a very good example because it's probably not going to show you much different, but if it was like this, where there was a space in between it, then it would also fill in, let me see if it does actually. Yeah, it just fills in that one space, but because this is technically a different tile, which is why. But if you had a gap anywhere, is the point, it will fill it in. So, but if it's blocked off by other tiles that are different than the one that you clicked on, then it will not color those in. So you just got to be careful with that. Sometimes if you don't have an enclosure where you think you do, it might like erase certain things. Like you didn't want it to erase this tile, but it did because there was a gap there, that sort of thing. But it basically replaces whatever tile you click on, whatever type of tile. So in this case, it's all the base tile is all this grass one here. So if I was just drawing, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Undo. So if I was just drawing, a little body of water here, it's going to take, and then I say, okay, no, I want that to be sand instead. It's going to take whatever tile type that you click on. So all these water ones, since they're all the same water tile here, it's going to change just that. So versus if I click on this grass tile, since it's all this same grass tile, it's going to change just the grass tiles and anywhere where there's a gap. So hopefully that makes sense. It's really not complicated. I'm just having a little bit of trouble explaining it in a clear way there, but and then finally the shadow pen, we'll look at this a little bit more, like I said, in detail, but this is what it does. It makes little shadows. So if you want to draw a shadow there, you can. And if you decide you don't like a shadow there, you can click back on it and erase it. So that's what it does. It's one of those things. It's useful, but it's probably like the one you're going to use the least out of all these options. Least often, I would say. So let's go ahead and just get rid of that. Just that we showed it as an example, and now we're all back to just the grass tile here, and I'm actually going to hand draw a little bit. Now let's look at a little bit of difference of these tiles just to show you. So we saw this dirt one already, and we saw the grass one, and a little bit of this water one. But now you can see there's a dirt one here, and you can look, if you look closely, you can see on the edges it has like grass around the edges of it. So the difference here, and I'll just show you. With this one, it's just like right up to the edge of the grid. Each space in the grid is completely covered by the sand, and it doesn't really look that great when it's like that with all this grass around it. But if you do this other one with a little bit of grass on the edge, you can see it kind of has a border on it that matches with the grass. So it's a little bit better to use against grass, and there'll be lots of things like that you'll see, and you can actually do it around here also, and then you can see a little bit more clearly there. You can see there's like that little thin border that ends up on the edge. That shows you that you should use this next to grass, and it'll look good like it does over here. So Yeah. Let me actually put a little bit more of that sandy area back in. So we'll just block some of this in here. And I'll show you some of these other ones. These are kind of the opposite, where it looks good with sand because it has sand on the edge, but you can put grass in there. Versus if you just put the regular grass in there, you can see what it looks like on the sides here, where it just goes like straight right angles and doesn't blend very well. So that's one thing you'll probably want to make use of, is these quite a bit, depending on what you're looking to have up here. And then we also have ones like this for a stone, pathway, walkway, whatever. And they also have the grass, and then ones for sand. And then we have ones here. These ones are for snow. So if you want snowy areas, you can do that. Got some snow, randomly snowed right here, and then you've got a path through the snow. But then again, you can also do the ones that don't have, the distinct, that do have the distinct edge, or they're just square. And down here are some more too. You can see these ones I think are pretty much the same as the ones up here, if I remember correctly. But you can also see too, off to the right, there's a little bit different ones too. So if you want a slightly different green, so you've got your regular grass, and that looks the same as that. And then you've got your sand or dirt or whatever, and then there's a darker color you can use here. So you can use two different varieties, and there's a little bit different pattern in there too. And then over here too, there's a darker color grass. You can see it shows up a little bit against the lighter grass. So, and then you've got some other sand options over here too. So there's multiple ways to make some dirt, and different walkways and things, and they'll look a little more interesting, visually distinct, and all that. So